Okay, let's talk about what it means for parents to be engaged with their kids' school. For a lot of Black parents, it's not just about bake sales or PTA meetings. It's this incredibly complex and honestly exhausting tightrope walk. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into why that is and what a real path to trust between parents and schools could actually look like.
This quote, wow, it just hits you, right? A parent named Lydia said this, and it perfectly captures the dilemma. I mean, think about it. If you're not involved, you're judged as a bad parent who just doesn't care. But if you are involved, if you show up and advocate for your child, suddenly you're difficult, confrontational, maybe even a little suspect. It's this impossible catch-22 that so many parents feel completely trapped by.
And this isn't just a hypothetical. Let's look at Tasha's story. I mean, here was a mother who did everything you're supposed to do. She was volunteering, she was on the PTO, she was at the school literally every single day advocating for her son Alex. And what happened? When Alex started facing unfair disciplinary actions and teachers had low expectations for him, she felt like the school administration just flipped it all around and blamed her. All that engagement, all that effort, it didn't protect your son. It didn't change a thing.
So there's actually a name for this experience. It's called racial realist parent engagement. Now, this idea comes from the work of Derek Bell, and it basically says that for Black parents, being engaged with a school is like doing two things at once. On one hand, you're actively resisting anti-Blackness, but on the other hand, you're also working with the understanding that racism isn't just a few bad apples or isolated incidents. It's a permanent, baked-in feature of the system you're trying to navigate.
Now, hearing that might sound a little bleak, but acknowledging this reality isn't about giving up. It's actually about getting strategic. So the big question is, how do parents move forward? Well, there's a framework that actually maps out this entire journey, from staying silent all the way to becoming a powerful advocate. Let's start by looking at the first couple of stages.
Okay, so these first two stages, they are really all about survival. You've got stage one, where a parent might look passive. They might even tell their child to just deal with it. But that's not coming from a place of not caring. It's often coming from a place of pure exhaustion, just feeling completely worn down by what feels like a constant battle. Then you have stage two. Here, the parent is totally aware of the problem, but they stay silent. And again, this isn't apathy. It's a very real, very rational fear that if they speak up, the school might retaliate and actually make things worse for their kid.
All right, so here's the full roadmap, all 6 stages. After a parent moves past those initial stages of silence, they might enter stage 3, this exploratory phase. This is where they're quietly gathering information, just kind of noting patterns. Then comes stage 4, measured engagement. This is so key. It's about raising concerns calmly, focusing on the impact of what happened rather than accusing someone of having bad intent. From there, it builds to active advocacy, using evidence, citing school policy, and finally stage 6, where a parent feels empowered and strategic. And at that point, it's not just about their own child anymore. It's about organizing for collective action.
Okay, so we've looked at the parent's journey. But a bridge has to be built from both sides, right? So let's flip the script for a minute and look at this from the educator's perspective, because this is where we so often see a huge disconnect, where really good intentions just don't line up with the actual impact they're having.
You've probably heard this one before. I don't see color, I see students. And you know what? It almost always comes from a good place. There's a case study about a teacher. They call him Mr. James, who says this exact thing when parents raise concerns. He genuinely believes he's being fair by treating every single kid the same. The problem is, this whole approach, which is called colorblind ideology, can be really, really harmful.
And this right here, this is that massive gap between intent and impact we were just talking about. The intent is noble. Be fair, treat every child the same. But the impact? The impact is that you completely minimize or even erase a child's lived experience with racism. Think about it. When a child musters up the courage to share something that happened to them and the response they get is, I don't see color, what they're really hearing is, your reality isn't real. I don't see you.
This same discomfort with talking about race can lead to something called the Pollyanna effect. It's basically when an educator is so afraid of having a difficult conversation that they sugarcoat everything. They might deliver a really serious message, but they do it so softly that the parent walks away having no idea how serious the problem actually is. And of course, that kind of communication, or lack thereof, absolutely destroys trust.
So if being colorblind isn't the answer and sugarcoating just makes things worse, what is the answer?
Well, there's an organization called Parents of Black Children, and they've put together an amazing toolkit for educators. And it all boils down to 7 simple but incredibly powerful requests. Think of them as the building blocks for that bridge of trust we're talking about.
When you really get down to it, what parents are asking for is just so human. It's a plea, really. See my child for who they are. Believe in their potential. Nurture them. It's about recognizing their full humanity, plain and simple.
So here they are, the 7 simple requests. Number 1, nurture Black children. Number 2, learn about the Black experience. 3, set high expectations for them. Don't let stereotypes lower the bar. 4, believe Black children when they tell you what's happening. 5, see them. When their hand is up in class, see them. 6, listen to what they have to say. And finally, number 7, be a champion for them. That means celebrating their wins and advocating for them when they need it.
Now, all of those individual actions by educators, they're absolutely crucial. They are huge pieces of the puzzle, but they can only go so far. To really, truly build that bridge of trust, we have to zoom out from the individual classroom and start looking at the structure of the entire system.
And this brings us right back to that core idea of racial realism. Remember, Tasha? For parents like her, getting involved isn't some simple transaction where you put in effort and get a good result. It's a constant battle. Advocating for your child becomes this necessary act of resistance. It's a way of just asserting their humanity in a system that so often seems not to see it.
And that's exactly why the ultimate solution has to be bigger. It has to move towards something called expansive racial justice policy. Here's the difference. This isn't just about having fair processes on paper. It's about getting real results. So, for example, it's not enough to say you have a fair application process for the gifted program if year after year, Black children are still massively underrepresented. This kind of policy focuses on material equality, making sure kids are actually in the program at fair and equitable rates.
So, all of this leaves us with one last big question to think about. We always talk about schools needing to build trust with parents, right? As if it's this extra credit assignment they have to work on. But what if we just completely flip that? What if trust wasn't a goal to achieve, but was a school's most basic, foundational responsibility to begin with? Something they are required to uphold for every single family that walks through their doors. If that were the starting point, what would need to change?